And it's grinding. Here we are. Looks like broadcast was deleted on Facebook. We might have been too late. I'm hitting go live anyway. If you're out there and on Facebook, we hope that you can see us. Apparently, I'm getting some silly notice from Facebook that we have been canceled. Looks like this broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Try creating a new broadcast. Or just remove this destination from, all right. Who is it? Ragin 2 Broadcast Network on Facebook. We might not be broadcasting this. I am going to remove it. And I'm going to try to reconnect them and see how that works. As soon as I find it. Sorry, folks, doing a little background thing. This is we're just back on the air. So we are going to try to get back up on all of our formats. And we'll see how it goes. There we are. We've got a clear board now. Hope you're all there. Are you there? Let us know. I think the chat's been going crazy. Sim's in the chat already. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zim. Thanks, Sim. I am a little late, but we're here. Morning, Sim. Morning, Mike Jimmy. Mike Jimmy's in our green room right now. We're going to bring him in a second. Anybody else want to come on and talk Jack Kirby? You're more than welcome. Let me know. Send me a bump on a PM on Facebook. I will send you a link. So if you want to talk Kirby, that is, or your campaign, I'm sure Mike Jimmy wants to get a word in there on that. I am looking on my Facebook page. Give me just a second here, because on Wednesday when I did the Zimcast, they had this thing set for private, and I had all sorts of people in the commenting on my Facebook page, and it didn't come through. So we should be good to go now, hopefully. If you're there, let us know. Happy to have you aboard. Thanks for coming. We are the Sunday Funnies for Sunday morning. It's March 6th, 2022. I have to keep looking at the date. My time, my sense of time is just gone. And it has been for a little while. I have to keep to a schedule in order to realize what day it is. It's pretty crazy, but we're not here to talk about that. If you want to talk about that, you can contact me on Zimcast, and I'll be real happy to address that there. So today we're going to talk about Sunday Funnies. Our special guest is Glenn B Fleming.
Hi, everybody.
Let me introduce. Well, let's run the opening first. I got an opening here. I'm going to run the not the old opening, but the regular opening first. No, let's not do that. Here's the opening for today's show.
Yeah.
We're so happy that you're here, and thanks for coming on, Glenn. Deeply appreciate you.
Glad to see you back. Never mind everything else.
I am very happy to be back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I am definitely not the same person I was when I went down, but I'm at least at the moment about 60 pounds lighter. I was 100 when I moved from the hospital to the nursing home. I was malnourished and dehydrated, and it's been a story, and I'm putting the story together as a graphic novel. So there's a lot of,
should be good.
There's a lot of details. The first thing I did when I could move my hands and my forearms was ask for a pencil and paper, and it kind of stunned the therapist. But I told him, had to tell him what I did for a living, and that I started out drawing incredibly bad.
We all did.
The therapist, well, I had to relearn. All of the muscles atrophied while I was on the respirator. And here I am talking about it again. I didn't mean to. This is the Sunday Funnies, where we talk about the light side of comics and the more whimsical side of comics. But anyway, my hand-eye coordination is back. My hands are back. My arms are back. I've got pretty close to full mobility. It's just that I don't have the strength and stamina. So that's what we're working on building up now. So, but I am back podcasting. I'm able to get in the basement. So here we go, guys. I hope everybody's having a great morning or a good afternoon where Glenn is, and a good afternoon where Mike Jimmy is. And I was going to put Mike Jimmy in the room, but he just walked off of his chair. So that's okay. I'll wait until he comes back before I bring him in.
Well, he only talks double Dutch anyway.
There we go. Double Dutch. That's a jump rope game, isn't it?
I don't know. We have a saying, double Dutch, it means rubbish, but that's a joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that
people say you're talking double Dutch, they mean you're talking in riddles, you know.
Is that supposed to be an insult to the Dutch?
It's not an insult, no. It's humor.
Well, yes, of course.
They probably don't take it that way.
They probably don't take it that way. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Zim. Sim, thank you so much. Thank you. Morning, Sim. Morning, Zim. Hey, Zim. The Zim Meister has returned. Thanks, Genuine Comics. Deeply appreciate you. Hello, everyone. It's been too long indeed. Yes, it has. Almost 5 months since Sunday Funnies has been off the air.
Wow.
So, and we're happy to be back. We're glad to be back. Hey, Dave. Finally, I can't wait for the show to begin again. Yes, sorry, Critical Blast. I got your package, Critical Blast. I deeply appreciate that. Got a copy of The Embrace. It looks really good. Hey, RJ. Glenn's book and DVD. Here we are. Right there. Mike Jimmy being helpful.
Thank you, Mike.
I can bring him in now that he's
there
actually
he is
sitting
at
in
last.
his chair.
Sorry, I needed a drink.
You're fine. I'm behind. So I'm the one that started things late, having to coordinate some background manipulation in order to get everybody up on board. We are on a lot of Facebook channels. We are on the Ragin 2 network, YouTube channel. And if you haven't subscribed to that yet, you should subscribe to it now and click that bell for notifications, because, pardon me, there are a lot of things planned, a lot of things coming that you're not going to want to miss. From the desk of a small press publisher. Morning, all. Didn't see you all come in. Guess I was too focused on lettering these pages. Awesome, Joe. Gotta work. Gotta work. Yep. LOL. Hey, Joe. No worries. We all got too much to do in a day.
We
appreciate. Yeah, we do. We deeply appreciate you tuning in here. Hit that like button. Hit that love button if you feel the need. Not enough love in the world. Tales from the Natverse by Sim. There he is. Mike Jimmy's hitting all of the links today. That's great. Deeply appreciate you, Mike Jimmy, for doing that. And also Life on Korra, which we will talk about here in a second. Launching Monday, Sim says. Yes. I don't know if you have a campaign launching Monday, Sim, or if you're talking about the Long Shots campaign. The Long Shots campaign does launch Monday. We're deeply looking forward to that. Pardon?
I thought it was today. So
is it Monday where you are?
No, it's Sunday.
Then it's tomorrow.
Okay. No, then I got the dates mixed up.
Hey, I just thought I'd double check. I told you time for me is. I woke up on the 23rd of November and it felt like a month before Thanksgiving happened. Literally did.
Wow.
And I the whole sense of time. I'm back in reality now. It took me a couple of weeks to actually, once I woke up, to actually get grounded in reality and to realize everything that had or had not happened to me, because I had some crazy dreams while I was under. They loaded me up with the crazy drugs. I'm back talking about myself again, and I don't mean to do that. Sorry. Moving on. Hail, everyone. Hail, Sugar. Always happy to have you here, Sugar Chris. Hello from the desk of a small press. Everybody saying hello and sup to everybody. It's great to be back Sunday morning. Everybody getting to say hello to everybody again. IKR, what is that? I know, right? Yep. So, right. Don't forget to like and sub Ragin 2. Yes, we did that. Thanks, Mike Jimmy. Again.
He's after your job, Randy.
I'm still behind. What?
Mike's after your job.
I appreciate.
I'm just a
I appreciate the help.
I use the word, I can post links, so I do it.
Yes.
Maybe Randy might mention that today. What today? That from a desk of a small press publisher. I heard this is launching today. 7 creators, 9 books. Actually, it sounds nice, but it's more than 7 creators because one of those books is an anthology title that has a lot more creators in it, and it's actually quite excellent, even though it,
I'm picking that.
one of those books is incredible. I'm gonna right there, Revolt. That's what we're calling it. We don't want the, anyway. Yep. It's got J.R. Harris in it. It's got Emily Zelasco in it, doing some great stuff. It's got a short Oswald Chronicles story in it. It's got a Lindy Jack story by yours truly in it, a story I was really happy with. So I put it in the first issue. And it's even got a story here from some guy named Glenn, I think. Let me find it here. Yeah, Hatch. It's got a Hatch story here from some guy named Glenn Fleming.
Yeah.
And it ends with the first chapter of a serial called The Adventures of Ginger Star. That kind of ties into the cover, the great cover of the book that was done by the great Chris Scalf, who I'm hoping to touch base with again next week. So maybe Randy might mention that today. Yep. And all of the books, all 9 of the books are fun books. They're all number 1s. They're all meant to be read by everybody, which is cool. Mm-hmm. At the time with the Long Shots campaign, we thought we were going to hit a lot larger, the mass audience actually. And we really wanted to make those books to be accessible. I just wish they were accessible. Anyway, Genuine Comics. Hello, Randy and Glenn. Sure you met Mike Jimmy too. Mike Jimmy knows about Jack Kirby. We'll get into that in just a minute. Kirby, yes. Good morning, gentlemen. Daphne, awake and in the house. Daphne, if you want a link, I will happily send it to you. You want to talk Jack Kirby this morning?
No, she'll be cackling if you bring her on, Randy.
Morning, Daphne. What?
We'll be having that Daphne cackle.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and the rents. Always
say
around.
That. You say that like it might be a bad thing.
No, you keep saying that. No, it's a joke.
I know.
It's the best part of my week.
Just like riding a bicycle, Randy? First Sunday funny in months. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Joe. Very much so. I don't have any of those books. Good. Here's your chance because they're going to ship everywhere. So as long as you're not afraid to pay for postage, we're not afraid to send them to you. So the great Anthony Figueroa is handling, and Marcus is handling that, The People Behind God's Hand, which is one of those books. So is handling that campaign. And we're really looking forward to the start of it. Yo. Great to see you back, Randy. Thank you, Russ. Russ, you're also welcome to come in if you want. And Glenn, as well. I'm sorry here. I suppose. Yeah. Okay. I'm still trying to catch up to the chat. So if you've asked for a link, I'm not quite there yet. So hi, so Russ. Hi. Hello, Russ. Hi. Everybody saying hello. Great campaign launching tomorrow. Yes. Or today, if you're in Mike Jimmy's time zone. No. If you're in.
Just going to be 6 hours later. That's all.
Great to see you too, Gabriel. Thank you so much for listening in. Deeply appreciate you. It's been a long time, buddy. And for me, it's been a couple of lifetimes. So do get back in touch. Love to do lunch or whatever. Hello, Gabriel. Everybody's saying hello to Gabe. They don't even know who he is. And hey, man, great crew. Daphne is not camera or audio ready today. So, Daphne, you are always welcome on this show. All you have to do is let me know. and we'll have you on. And today we're going to talk about. Pardon?
Pajamas are okay.
Pajamas are always okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to be totally camera ready for us, but Rich Perrotta is asking for room. Shall we?
Yeah, sure. Always a pleasure with Rich.
Bring Rich in. We can all talk Kirby together. There you go, Rich. Enjoy. And I think that's it. Okay. We're good. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Deeply appreciate all of you for coming along. John Celestri is in the house. Daphne Lage says thank you with a little heart. You're always welcome. Great to see you back, Randy. John, the same applies for you. Anytime you want to come on the air, you just let me know, buddy. We'll get you on. I gave your picture away. I'm sorry I'm happy to say, I should say. I gave your drawing to a dear friend of mine yesterday. I went up to Midland for a Midland convention, walked around, and Midland's about half an hour away from where I live, maybe 45 minutes. They had a convention in a mall there. It's still going on today, by the way. If you're around the Midland area, stop by the Midland Mall. You know where it's at. And walk around. It was almost shoulder to shoulder yesterday.
Nice.
And I threw a convention up what I consider up north in Saginaw a couple of years ago, and we were literally shoulder to shoulder.
Wow.
But the room was it was a good room, but it was a little small, and we were still letting people through the door at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and the show closed at 5. But there at the mall, it was a big mall, it's a decent sized mall, and they were about shoulder to shoulder. So there were all sorts of cosplayers, and everybody was out there obviously looking to have fun. And the person who put it on has a toy store in Saginaw called Fett's, and Fett's Toys and something, Toy Warehouse, I think it's called. And he is a huge Boba Fett fan. So he was almost in tears when I gave him your Boba Fett picture, John. He was deeply appreciative of it. Daphne's saying that the lighting is making he look like 12 and not 17. All right. Lunchtime. That's a running gag, folks. From a desk of a small press publisher. Sunglasses and laughter from Daphne. Daphne's flattery will get you everywhere. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for coming in. I'm caught up with the chat. Deeply appreciate you. There is no other news out there other than we are back. And we're going to try to be back every Sunday morning. We're looking forward to bringing some fun back into the funny books and talk about the more light and whimsical side of comics, hopefully. If you followed this show in the past, you know our conversations tend to wander. So you're forewarned is forearmed. I'm not going to run my warning card this morning, though you might, this is not a discussion meant for little children. You might hear an occasional expletive or two, but we're going to carry on and talk about funny books. So.
We will if Rich comes on.
You know, when we talk about Rich is sitting in the green room. I just haven't let him in yet. Here he is now.
Here he is,
Rich.
Here he is, the man himself.
Rich, it's the middle of the afternoon where you are. You look like you look like I feel. Like you're just barely waking up.
I don't exactly know how to take that there, Randy.
That was such a great introduction, Rich.
Well, I was about to ask you how you were feeling, but it's just like if I look like how you feel, I'm like, oh my God, you're at death's door.
I meant that with
Christ,
deep love,
man.
my friend. No, I'm out of death's door. Thank you. I knocked on that one twice. According to the doctor.
I wanted to ask how you doing, man. How are you feeling?
Doing okay. Getting around with a cane. And it's still a little weak from time to time.
Matters.
I am
getting around. That's all that matters.
Yes,
I'm very happy that you've recovered. Very pleased.
But let's get past that and introduce ourselves. I'm a longtime alternative comic and independent comics publisher. I've been doing this for decades, literally. And as long as, I've got the white beard to prove it. And I've done everything in this business that you can imagine outside of work for Marvel or DC. I turned down an apprenticeship for Marvel early in my career, much to the dismay of Mr. Sid Jacobson, but I sure didn't. Anyway, I didn't want to be an intern at Marvel for $9,000 a year. So, and at the time,
holy shit,
they would have paid me.
Wow.
But
they didn't
but I
pay you?
laughed at him and I told him, no way am I doing that. And apparently that slammed the door on any other future I had at the time at Marvel. But
Well,
anyway,
Wow.
it's my deep-seated laughter that attracted a lot of attention when he told me how much it paid. I think that anyway, I was not prepared. It was just a different time. Anyway, back on track. I'm here, longtime podcaster, got a couple of years of podcasting experience under my belt.
Yes, sir.
And now we're here on the Ragin 2 network. We're returning Sunday Funnies after almost a 5-month absence. And we're going to happily talk about the fun side of comics, especially Jack Kirby this morning, because we have author Glenn B. Fleming, writer, artist, publisher, Glenn B. Fleming here, and we will be talking about his book in a minute. Glenn, introduce yourself.
yeah, and all those things, writer, artist, and publisher. I write books, I draw comics, I do other things as well in illustration areas. You can find most of my stuff on Amazon, and you can also go to Indiegogo for this and get one of these, which is my new DVD and book about Jack Kirby, which I think we'll be discussing during
one
this
of these?
show. Yeah, that's the one. And I've written about 10 books around different things: science fiction, JK assassination. I write and draw children's books, comics. I do a lot of things. If you check out Amazon, you'll find it there. I also publish Comics Unlimited, which is a periodical about comics, believe it or not. That's also available on Amazon, and that is currently being reformatted, and next issue will be coming out probably a month to 6 weeks from now. You're muted.
Randy. You may have unplugged your microphone.
That's it.
I did. Mike, Jimmy, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. And while you do that, I am going to fix my microphone.
No worries. Hey everyone, I'm Mike Jimmy De Bruin of Fairies and Ints. I create comics. I'm a publisher with just too many titles at this point, like Love and Cora, The Scene Killer by Marv, who is in the chat. The Radiant Sight is coming. And I started writing my own graphic novel again because, I didn't have enough time on my hands in the first place. And I just do a lot of things. And since yesterday, I actually appeared in a newspaper, which was mind-blowing. With a picture and everything. I'm surprised the site didn't crash.
I would love to see. If you can give me the link to that article, I'd love.
Yeah, no, totally. I'll share it in a bit. It's all in Dutch. I'm sorry, but it didn't.
Oh, I don't care.
You just want to see my smile.
We'll work it out. What
I'll do is I'll like copy every single sentence and then put it like English to Dutch to English, and I'm like, okay, what does he say? All right, cool. So now I'll know what you say. It'll take a while to read it, but it'll be worth the wait. It'll be worth the wait. Trust me, it will be.
But I do a lot of things, but off to this guy.
Yes.
We got Rich.
Rich.
Yeah, you.
Introduce yourself, Rich.
All right. My name is Rich Perrotta. I'm a former Marvel and DC artist, and since 2013, I've been working in the independent circuit. And in 2021, I published my first graphic novel, The Incantessi. It's a 4-part limited series. I'm presently working on Chapter 3 with a hopeful release sometime in either May or June. I'm hoping for one of those. I'm also coming up with something else entirely different that I've shown a couple people, which I have yet to show you, Glenn. I need to show you as well. I may have shown Mike. I'm not too sure if I did, but I will. And maybe. Well, I'll let you know. And we're gonna see how that's gonna go. I'm probably gonna re-release that one in late 2022 or early 2023, and that's pretty much it.
Nice.
And I'm here on Randy's return, his show, and once again, like I said, I'm very happy that he is in good spirits and health and doing this again as he was born to do.
Rich, very, very happy to have you on, Rich.
The honor is mine. The honor is mine. Thank you. Really.
Sorry, while I get readjusted here, there's just it's one of those, if anything can go wrong, it will days. So.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
Randy is planning not to use the soapbox. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. Well, this show, I really want to refocus this, or bring some focus actually to the show, and really talk about the fun and more whimsical side of comics and why we are here and the love that we have for this art form, if not for the industry. So, that's really what I want to do with this program. Everything else, all of the horror stories and everything else, we can always put on the Zimcast. But Sunday morning, we just need to be excited and talk about why we love this industry or this art form so much. So let's move on. Glenn.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Jack Kirby book.
Well, as most people probably know, a few years ago, well, it's 30 odd years now, isn't it? I went to see Jack Kirby at his home. And I went twice. And on the second occasion, I managed to capture part of it on film, which is me talking to Jack Kirby in his house, in his studio. And this book is, obviously, not all the conversation was recorded. So this book is a companion with the DVD that I write. You know, I took notes and obviously use my memory of the conversations with Jack, and they're all in this book, or most of it's in this book, I should say. And also with it are over 40 photographs of me with Jack in his house and his wife. And you can get this now on Indiegogo. It's live now. It's past its goal. It's I think it's about 135% on its goal. And I put it together. I wanted to share it all with everybody. This great man and his talent, and also his fantastic wife, who should be remembered because she was the foundation, I think, of Kirby as a man and as a creator. I think she was the single, perhaps apart from maybe his talent, the single most important part of that of all that creation that we saw. That because she was such a wonderful person, and this book is my, I wanted to put this together to get everything together. So you get the DVD with him talking, and you get the conversation with him when he's not on camera over 2 visits.
And
sorry, go on.
And just in case there's somebody out there who has no idea who Jack Kirby is, maybe we should tell them.
Well, Jack Kirby is, for me, the single most important creator of comics in the history of comics, certainly the past 70 years. And he created things that you've seen or co-created: Captain America, Thor, Avengers, X-Men, Iron Man, had a hand in Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Eternals, New Gods, and you could just reel them all off.
We could easily go 2 hours.
We could go 2 hours
reeling them all off.
Yeah, telling people. Yeah. I think the consensus is that over his career he drew in excess of 40,000 pages of comics. Yeah. At his peak in the mid 60s with Stan Lee, he was producing up to 4 and 5 pages of pencils per day. He was doing 3 titles. I think he was doing FF, Thor, Captain America. And when he wasn't drawing the strip, he was doing layouts for other artists to use, using his expert storytelling techniques. He was doing all the covers. It's incredible. If you just look at those,
immense amount of covers. I mean, eventually they had to take some of that work away from him, and that's why he didn't draw Spider-Man.
That's right,
because they took the basic idea and gave it to Ditko, and Ditko put Ditko's stamp on it. Yeah.
And then we got other people coming in like John Buscemi and John Romita, and they were fantastic artists, but not necessarily what I would call creators. They didn't create the characters, but Jack did it all. He created the characters, he designed them, he drew them, he wrote them, he did everything. And he said to me, one of his regrets was that there wasn't time in the day so he could do some inking and some coloring.
Wow.
So But I mean, quite rightly, Stan Lee didn't let him ink his stuff because he was too busy producing pencils for other people to ink.
He did take time to do a couple of paintings, though.
He did. Yeah, he probably did that while he was eating dinner.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He probably did it over a period of months between assignments.
Yeah,
I have an open hour here, or screw this page. I'm just going to sit here and paint for.
Well, the
for
thing
an
is,
hour
you see,
until it
the
gets
thing
better.
is, when I'm doing some comics, I always tend to do a few thumbnails first, just to get the flow of it, get it moving and things like that. And I think most people do that. But he didn't have time to do thumbnails. He just went straight on the board, on the page. And Roz told me that when she used to watch him, it was like he was tracing it. It was like his focus was so intense, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He would just draw it as if he was just copying it, just drawing over it, like it was already. I think he must have been projecting it on the page.
It probably was. It was already there in his head.
Yeah.
Especially at the time of the 70s and 80s, it had to have been.
Yeah,
a lot of that had gotten down to reflex.
A
lot, because Kirby didn't just have one career. I think he had like 5 or 6
certainly
different careers. Coming up with Joe Simon and working on their collaborations has got a specific art look to his work, to the art style that they had to go out and find. And they were kicking out so much work, they had to go out and find apprentices and people to work and to try to draw in Jack's style in order to get it close. I didn't realize there's a lot of Captain America work that he would just do the splash page on, or the cover, and then all of the other interior work they would oversee from apprentices.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were also doing work at the time for DC.
There's a story about that, isn't there, about somebody let's say betraying them to somebody about what they were going over the road with.
The little gopher was related to
the publisher.
The nephew of the publisher, right? And so the little gopher guy happened to drop the word that these guys are also working for the guys across town. And
the story is, I think that Jack and Joe rented a hotel room, and at lunch they'd have an extended lunch, and they'd go over and draw for the other guy. And one day they noticed they were being followed. So something like that. I don't know whether that's true or not. That's what I've heard. Maybe that's just
could be urban legend, could be actual history, but
they did leave shortly after that incident, and with their tail between the legs.
Martin Goodman kind of booted them, from what I understand, once they found out they were working for DC. So, but then over there, they were doing Boy Commandos and Newsboy Legion, and the revision of Sandman and Sandy.
I'll tell you a really interesting story.
Manhunter come out of that period.
Interesting part of Jack's careers, as you quite rightly said. He was doing Captain America and all that kind of stuff. Then he went in the army in the Second World War and did all that. And when he came back, he was so traumatized by that, which hopefully we'll never get to see anything near that. He was so traumatized by that, but he had to do comics. But he didn't do war comics for 10 years. After he got back, and in that time, he and Joe Simon produced romance comics, which must be the opposite, the absolute opposite of what they did before. No fighting, maybe fighting amongst the girls and boys in those comics, but no actual physical fighting.
But Kirby was one of those rare creators where he was always looking for something to do. He was always looking for that next challenge. And you could see it. It's so obvious in his work. Everything is a push. Boys Ranch. Back during that period after the war is a genuine push in a lot of different directions. The Fighting American, even it's great parody and satire.
Ross told me that Jack would have Jack would have nightmares when he got back from the war, which
everybody almost any sane person would.
And then when he stopped having the nightmares was when he started to do battle and things like that, and do the action stories again. So it's like it took him 10 years to get through. I won't say over it, because I don't think you ever get over stuff like that. But he got through it and then went back to it, and then produced all that magnificent stuff in the 60s, which was his peak. It just, like we said, the beginning, FF number 1 was 1961, wasn't it?
But even before that, he was really
challenges, all that. Challenge. But I mean, the top stuff, the real good stuff.
What he's really known for was that creative spark. But that creative spark wouldn't have been there if he hadn't done all of that war.
That's right.
All of the Captain America material, all the superhero work that he had done before that. If he wasn't out trying to stretch and do the romance books, because you can definitely see that soap opera element coming in, and Lee likes to take a lot of credit for that, but some of that obviously is coming through on the picture. So,
well,
a lot more than the written word
on a lot of things.
I think it's pretty established now that he was writing and drawing Fantastic Four 5 years before the Fantastic Four came out, and it was called Challengers of the Unknown.
Yeah,
the characters are, I know there's a woman in the Fantastic Four, but the characters are pretty much the same. The premise is pretty much the same. So
yeah. Well, what's really cool about the Fantastic Four is you can sit there and deconstruct them down to what Timely was doing at the time.
Yeah.
You know, and how they threw that group together, and both Kirby and Lee's recounting of the story is that it was pretty haphazard. They just sat there in the offices and put the group together really quick. And it's so obvious with the tiebacks at Human Torch, the monster books that they were doing at the time for The Thing, the even Reed and Sue with the romance, you know, the solid family romance of the two of them, and eventually getting married. It's just really classic for the time. I tell everybody FF is the true Cold War comic.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they fought the Red Ghost. That's why Dr. Doom was there. All of these foreigners were European, you know, Cold War statements over and over again.
You've read my book, Randy, and Jack discusses with me how he created Dr. Doom.
Mm-hmm.
You read that one where he said that having faced the German panzers, when he was, I mean, you can't imagine those things coming at you, those tanks coming at you. He said they were ruthless. They'd run over you. That they were ruthless, but he knew that even though they were sort of made of steel, he knew that they had a soft inside, which was the person inside, and that's why he created Dr. Doom the way he was. He had this obviously steel exterior, but he was a human inside. And the story Jack told me was that Victor Von Doom was the most handsome man on the earth, but he got a little nick on his face, little scratch, and he couldn't cope with that. It made him ugly, which of course it didn't. It made him a very good-looking man with a little scar on his cheek, and that's why that was to do with donning the mask and burning his face and doing all that sort of stuff, you know.
There's a Thor cover, isn't there, where Dr. Doom is in the shadows and he's taking his mask off, and Donald Blake is recoiling in horror, going, "Nobody can fix that."
Yeah.
Oh my God!
But all it was was a nick on his face.
I had read a fanzine article where they theorized the nick was actually on his chin.
Right.
Oh, no.
Because he is, they also theorized that he was all of these different people, including Kang, Ramatut, Scarlet Centurion, and that it was all the same person traveling through the timeline, and that's why all of these other characters all had beards, and they had their chin covered up. Or Kang had a full face on. That was pretty close to what Dr. Doom was. It's because that Victor was so. You know, that his facial wound so affected him psychologically that he had to cover it up.
Wow. Well, there you go.
That's incredible.
Omniverse #1, if you ever find it. Jerry Ordway was attached to that fanzine. It was a fascinating article.
Jerry Ordway, what an artist he is.
Yeah.
Jesus. I remember Jerry Ordway from this is when I first started reading, from Crisis of Infinite Earths. And a little bit before then. Well, he Jerry Ordway inked the last few issues, I think, of that limited series. He didn't do the whole series. That much I do know.
No, Dick Giordano inked the first few.
That's right.
I got to tell you, if you had to ink that book, that was more than a month's work right there. Thanks, Perez.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's
just those covers alone would have taken a couple days. It's crazy.
Yeah,
those covers alone are insane. Well. Everything, just like we've been saying before, no matter who it is, it could be Perez, it could be Byrne, it could be Sienkiewicz, it could be Barry Windsor Smith. It does not matter. We have comics because of Jack Kirby. That's really it. Yeah. We have comics because of Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby created, what did he create? Like 3/4 of the comic book universe that we love.
I'd say more, but at least.
And with Barry Windsor Smith, all you have to do is sit there and look at Conan #1. And you can see all the Kirby right there.
Well, look at those. Was it X-Men he did first, and then Avengers?
Yeah.
X-Men.
Apparently, Stan Lee said to him, "Draw like Kirby," and so he did, but he didn't mean that. He meant the storytelling aspect of it.
Dynamics.
Yeah, don't draw exactly like Kirby, but because you can't draw like Kirby. Kirby's
That's
God.
right. Yeah,
Can't
that's
draw
right.
like God.
Keith Giffen had the same problem when he was first coming up. They told him to draw like Jack Kirby, so he did. And then after a while, some art director at Marvel said, "We love your stuff, kid, but you draw too much like Jack Kirby."
Oh my God.
Yes, he is the best. He's just, and he's such a gracious man as well. So generous. Him and Roz, and they invited me into their home and they fed me and they looked after me. I was there the first time I went. I was there for about 6 hours, just talking about stuff, and it was just Jack's brilliant. He was just such a great storyteller. He liked to talk. And
was he working the whole time?
No. I think he'd more or less retired by that point.
Okay.
I think this was 1988. He'd be 71 when I saw him, so he'd pretty much retired then.
Well, he never really
was his
retired.
When was his last major project?
It'd be Captain Victory, wouldn't it? But about 1981 too.
Next Man, come out after that.
Yeah.
He was working on a ton of stuff. He had libraries.
I'll tell you what he was doing. Yeah,
stuff.
you're right. He hadn't retired. He was working at.
He never retired.
Was it Spears? Is it Spears cartoon?
Ruby Spears?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he might have been doing Thundar breakdowns.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't look at Thundar without seeing Kirby. It's obvious. It's just like once you
just put it together.
Once
you
see
I suck as a comic book artist. Jesus.
Yeah, Ruby Spears came through and rated a lot of comic people for Thundar. A lot of Gerber wrote a number of episodes, and you go through those credits on Thundar, you're like going, they've done comics.
That's crazy.
But you can't look at Ukla the Mock without thinking of Kirby,
Kirby.
or look at Thundar without, or all three of the main cast really are so obviously Kirby.
Yeah, I think
great stuff.
Oh my God!
Like we say, his impact.
Now you're going to go back and watch the entire series.
You bet your ass I am. I'm going to
and you're going to be amazed at the quality of the work that went into it, because the writing is there, and Thundar is so over the top macho. Hey, I am the man. And at the time they were way ahead of their PC time. Because the girl, the sorceress, who I can't remember her name.
Princess Ariel. I used to watch
Princess
this show
Ariel,
religiously.
Was always the controlled one. Was always the one kind of all right, dumb man. We need to go this way, kind of stuff. And Mock was the far other end of Thundar, the just raw barbarianism. Just classic stuff.
Mike, you're younger than us. When did you first get Kirby?
He's way younger than us. Embryo.
I never really got Kirby. Like, again, I really grew up with Franco-Belgian comics. Like, American comics were not in the library that was available to me. However, now that, once I was through my teenage years and comics became cool again for me, because we all had that episode.
Yeah.
I think. I started going into looking at more art. Where did it come from? Look at the history, and Jack Kirby, of course, is one gigantic part of it. So yeah, I've been looking into his stuff, appreciating it. It's, superheroes are still not for me as a whole, but the quality and the love that went into his work is something that any creator can appreciate. Doesn't matter what you like. And going into it like that, there is so much history and quality to the work that you as a creator have to look back at and appreciate that your entire career is based on this one person, essentially.
Yeah, I think he was the biggest impact on comics ever.
The cool thing about Marvel in those days, again, was when Kirby was working there, he had already done everything.
Yeah.
So the FF really isn't a superhero book as much as it is a book about a family in a science fiction situation.
Science fiction, yeah.
Going out and doing crazy, fantastic things. And the majority of that during Kirby's tenure all come out of his head.
Yeah.
You know, Silver
point.
Surfer, Galactus, the Inhumans, all of that, and the Inhumans is just such crazy imagination. And then when he gets disgruntled and leaves and goes to DC and creates New God, Forever People, and all of the craziness that was in them Jimmy Olsen books, you just sit there and drop your jaw at the amazement of it. My first real, I knew who Kirby was, but my first recognition of that imagination came from New Gods #4. Right. When I got a hold of a copy, had no idea what the characters were, what the story was about, sat there and read that and went, man, who created all of this crazy stuff? And it was Kirby. And that really made me take a second look at his career, what he had done, what he had created and all that. Because sure, I read the early Marvel stuff. I didn't read it when it was first out, but in reprints, they had so many reprints back when I was growing up, Marvel Triple Action, Marvel's Greatest Comics and all of that. And you got to see all of that great Kirby work. And it never really drove home the level of the imagination to me than to sit there and read New Gods. And to me, it was really obvious by the time he started New Gods, he was so tired of the superhero genre.
Yeah.
That he literally was challenging himself. He set up a giant chess game, and he had all of the pieces on the good side, all of the pieces on the bad side, and was just running them together. And then created a character to take the pieces off the board.
Yeah.
Which was the Dark Rider, I think he was called. The guy in the comatose, the guy in the hospital that turned into the
Black Racer.
The Black Racer, yes. In a suit of iron. Black Rider was on Forever People, right? Dark Rider, I think.
I don't know. Oh yeah.
It's one of the Forever
Moon Rider, was it?
Moon Rider. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think he started
many names, so many characters. You just sit there forever and just marvel.
I think he started moving towards science fiction in the late 50s with Sky Masters and things like that.
Oh, that's very true.
And Challengers. And then he was doing the monster books at the same time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then the Fantastic Four.
Challengers wasn't a superhero book either. It was an adventure book. Yeah.
And when you get to 1965 in the FF and Thor, it was all science fiction. Like you've got the god of thunder, a Norse god, a myth fighting in space with the Katana Nile and Galactus and all those things. That's pure science fiction.
Sure.
And then when he left, as you say, when he left him to do New Gods in the in the early 70s, and then when he came back to Marvel and did 2001, and he did even Devil Dinosaur, that which was created for a TV show animation.
Yeah.
And then you get Captain Victory. They're also he's firmly entrenched in science fiction.
Yep.
And
Silver Star came after
Silver Star. Yeah, Silver Star. Yeah. But it's pure science fiction. And if you look at it, if you read them all, or even if you read a few issues, you can see there's threads between them. Captain Victory and Silver Star should have been in New Gods for me. There's elements of those books. It's 10 years later, but he's finishing off. And my greatest sort of sadness is that he never got to finish the Eternals the way he wanted to do. I think that was going to be his biggest thing, but that's just my opinion. But he was mixing stuff with ancient Egypt and all that kind of stuff. But it was all to do with aliens, wasn't it? And stuff like that.
Space aliens. Yeah.
Yes. Can't beat space aliens.
Crazy stuff.
Glenn, can I ask you a question? There was an inker that I've heard of who's completely notorious for taking away a lot of detail. And
you can name him here. He's not my favorite inker.
Oh, I hate him. I hate him. I was gonna say his name, Vince effing Coletta, bastard that he is. What did Jack? I mean, how much did Vince have the quote unquote ink over Jack Kirby's work? And I can only imagine the reaction that Jack Kirby might have had after he saw the pages that were handed back to him.
Well, there's an article in Jack Kirby Collector about this, and it shows you by 1970, Jack's son Neil was working at Xerox, I think, or had access to a Xerox copier. So before Jack sent his pencils off, he would take Xeroxes of the pencils, which weren't done before. And when he got the books back, of Thor that Coletta was inking. Half the background was missing.
Oh,
People were in
oh,
silhouette, but when you see the pencils, they're fully rendered. And I understand it, and I don't know whether this is true or one of those myths again, but I understand that Vince Coletta, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think that Vince Coletta was the only inker that Kirby asked to be removed because Jack Kirby said, if I've got time to pencil it, he's got time to ink it.
So the reason, and I saw a video about this on YouTube about a guy who does a lot of comic history, especially for Jack Kirby stuff. So you went from the original 17 by 24 or 22, I think, to 11 by 17.
Yeah.
And the way Coletta was inking was with a dip pen that just didn't come out in that size compared to the bigger size that they used to have.
It looked like the majority of the work he did was with a crow quill pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. That's the point. Like, it literally was. And he didn't want to work with anything else because he didn't feel like working with a brush or anything. So he took out so much of the detail just to keep hitting deadlines. Like, that was the only reason he wasn't fired, was because he never missed a single deadline.
That's why he got as much work as he did. It's because they could always send it to him at the last minute and get it right back.
And
he also had a studio working on it, didn't he? I think Vince used to do the main characters, and he had people doing backgrounds.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, not at all.
No. I know he was held at the DC offices. He was held over the head of a number of creators, Mike Grell being one of them, because Grell couldn't get him off of Warlord to save his life, and it's because the editor didn't care that much for Mike Grell, from what I understand.
Wow.
Well, and he was used as a punishment.
Oh,
wow!
There you go.
That is the most petty thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. If you don't like the guy, send him on another book.
That's nothing compared. Anyway, the deeper you get into comics history, the crazier it becomes. So.
Well, Mike, sorry, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
My time at Marvel and DC, there was, it's very incestuous.
Mm-hmm.
It's very incestuous. There's about 3 or 4 editors that I knew of. I don't know if they're there anymore.
Probably not.
They're probably not. They switched jobs between Marvel and DC. One was an editor for Marvel and DC twice, and then he went off to another company. But I knew of about 3 or 4 people who constantly just changed offices. Even Bob Harris, the editor in chief over at the main editor at the X-Men office, who screwed everything up for the X-Men office. He was a rather terrible editor, somehow managed to become editor-in-chief over at DC Comics. He got fired because he sucked. And it's like so many things going back and forth with that. And what bothers me is that a lot of these guys with all their with whatever they were doing, they had the call of who does what as far as that's concerned. I mean, and if they had a personal grudge against someone while not getting rid of them, I mean, Vince Coletta probably made Mike Grell look like me, because it's like there's Mike Grell, and then there's below the ground me. It's like it takes a poor inker to take great pencils and make them less than average.
Yes,
and that's what Vince Coletta is. He's a less than average inker.
If you ever look at the essentials, the Thor essentials, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When you sit there and you look at that work and you imagine what Kirby's work would have looked like if Thurbo, or I might have pronounced his name wrong, but I think it's Thurbo, or Mike Royer had come on Thor instead of Coletta, it would have been amazing. Just beautiful work.
Anything else would have been better.
Somebody using a brush and a little bit of care would have just kicked its ass. Instead, you get this scratchy, hairy looking kind of a mess in the inking.
To be fair with Vince Coletta, when he does that cover at the top of the show, the one where he's fighting Hercules, that is outstanding, and the detail on that is brilliant. And I would imagine that Vince Coletta himself did everything on that cover.
Probably, yeah.
But like I said, he had a studio and background inkers and things like that. I know, right? Other artists, other inkers may have had the same.
And also, to Coletta's credit, he did romance comics for quite a long time, and they are incredibly tender and beautiful, and phenomenal looking pieces of art.
Yeah, but to actually erase what the artist has drawn, I think is right on criminal, because he and then in the Kirby Collector article, it showed you a page of, I think it was Loki. He was on the streets of Manhattan, and he was doing all this, doing all these spells, and in the background there's 5 or 6 people all recoiling, just ordinary people recoiling, and in the printed one next to it, I think there's 3 people, and 2 of those are in silhouette. Mm-hmm. Where on Jack's pencils you can see all the all the hands and all the faces and everything, and he just erases it to make the deadline, and I think that's appalling. I think that is
appalling.
But Mike, you were saying about the page size going smaller. You know why that was, don't you?
Yeah, because it was cheaper, right?
Yeah, because you could shoot 4 pages on one film at that size. Then you could at the other sizes. There was too much waste.
Back then, the cameras and the film to develop the chemicals to develop the film weren't cheap. Mostly made out of, the chemicals were silver. It had silver in them. So they cut back on their expenses as hard and fast as they could.
I don't suppose you can blame them in a way. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
It makes for cheap comics. I mean, that was the point. So
yes,
yeah.
All those great 12 centers. 15 centers, yeah.
I mean, they were selling 250,000 a month at least, weren't they?
Yeah. Genuine Comics wants to know, is Rich yet? Who is just in case?
Speaking of Rich, he has to go. He has a thing he has to take care of. And
Rich, I'm sorry you couldn't stay longer.
No, next time
I hope you're not leaving because of my what I said earlier.
No, why would I do that? No, don't be silly.
I meant it with the greatest of affection.
No, trust me. No, it has nothing to do with that. There's something I have to take care of on a personal level. And,
okay.
This person's messaging me now, so.
Oh yeah.
I will be
understandable.
I would be honored if I see you guys. If I ask, I'd love to come on the next panel if that would be okay.
Tell folks how they can find you before you leave, and if you have a campaign running right now, now's the time to push it.
I don't have anything running right now. The only thing I'm doing again is just in a pre-production for Chapter 3. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at Greystoke20, and on my YouTube channel, The Richness, which I have not been on in a bit, but I'm going to relaunch it at the end of March. So
cool.
Hopefully, I'll talk to all of you again soon.
All right, Rich, you're welcome on anytime.
See you, Rich.
Later, man. Thanks, man. Take care. Good luck, Glenn. Glenn, I haven't forgotten. I'm definitely going to get your book.
Okay, great.
We need to have you on sometime and just talk about your experiences at Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure there are some good ones in there somewhere.
There's a few, but not so much great.
You're not going to get out of that one, Rich.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'll talk to you guys later.
Take care.
See ya. See ya.
And we are 3 now. Yes. Hey, let's jump back up on the. I don't know who Just in Case is. Genuine Comics. Anybody else?
Just in case.
Just in case. I used to have a character, an IP I was developing about a kid who could travel in time, and it was just in time.
There you go.
I think that pun's been taken a couple of times in comics already.
Yeah.
He created Stan Lee. I'm sure you heard of him, LOL.
Yeah.
Point. Sim says he had an animation background doing in-betweens. Yep.
He did, yeah.
Yep. Couldn't get that imagination in though when you're sitting there being a cog in a machine though.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, he was still a lot of times he was definitely treated as a cog by some of these companies, but
that's all he was, wasn't it?
He got to spin his imagination off. My favorite Kirby creation is the Demon. I love the Fourth World stuff too, but there's something about the original miniseries of the Demon that I just love. So that's great, Sim. And actually, if you go back on the first year of Hal Foster, the Demon is actually there. He dressed Prince Valiant dresses up in a set of skins that amazingly resembles the demon. So
Well,
whether
there you go.
he
'Cause
subconsciously pulled that
well,
out of his head, or
Hal Foster was one of his
gave a big tribute
inspirations.
to an inspiration that he loved. I could see that going, especially when I'm sure DC came at him and said, you know, that fourth world stuff we're going to have to stop, but if you want to do more stuff for us, you know, pitch us some stuff. And he had to turn around and create that material. Demon and Omac and Commandy.
That has to be one of the biggest tragedies of comicdom, when Carmine Infantino in particular and DC in general finally got Jack to go over to DC. Yeah. And when he went, it seems to me that they didn't know what they had. And then they kept cutting him short and promising him the earth.
But you have to admit, the fourth world was way ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course it was.
But what would you expect? So imaginative on that stuff.
Kirby wanted to introduce all those because he wanted to give them out, didn't he? He wanted to edit and write. I think the workload of actual drawing was maybe getting. I mean, they only be 55 then or something.
Oh, so no, maybe he was older than that.
No, he wasn't.
He did that material. I swear he was.
No, 1917 he was born. That makes him 50 in 1967.
Okay. So he's 50?
Yeah, 54, 55 when he did New Gods.
He was at least 60 when he did Captain Victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be 63, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
So anyway, but the thing is that he wanted to give those books off to other people to produce.
Oh, yeah.
And he also wanted John Romita to go over and ink New Gods. That would have been something.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? He wanted, but they put Coletta on them, didn't they? On the first few.
Yeah, first few. I think Royer came in not too long after that.
Came in at 3 and 4, didn't he, or something like that?
Yeah.
But if you look
not 4, because 4 was Coletta. I remember that distinctly. Yeah.
Well, if you look at if you look at the artwork on those early ones by Coletta, he's ruined it again, hasn't he?
Yeah. But there's still some amazing splash pages and just some phenomenal dynamics.
Yeah, because he would take time with those.
Yeah.
I think he would take the best pages out and do those, and these other guys did the other stuff.
Joe, from a desk of a small press publisher, says, Sims, I'm more partial to Mr. Miracle and Forever People. Mm-hmm. Just amazing works, and literally out of thin air. You know, I'm sure that you go back and there's some inspiration there with Steranko and Houdini and all of that. But Mr. Miracle was an amazing property. Mm-hmm. You know, Challenges the Unknown had no powers. To me, that's what made them more unique. The family aspect was not there. But it was pure scientific exploration. Yeah, like a group of daring do scientists and adventurers. Exploration amongst close colleagues. Yeah, very much so.
And it came off Sky Masters, that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because that, like I said earlier, that was it getting into science fiction. And Sky Masters is brilliant. And I think Dick Ayers inks a lot of that.
I think you're right.
And Wally Wood. Wood,
Wood did a lot of that. Yeah.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine Wally Wood inking New Gods or something. You know, it's just incredible, isn't it?
I almost printed that in my Flint Comics newspaper, but I figured it was dated, and I wasn't sure about the rights.
What, Sky Masters?
Sky Masters, yeah.
Oh, right.
Because it would have fit really well.
Yeah.
I've
got the big book. Is it Nostalgia or somebody? I can't remember who published it.
Nostalgia Inc.
Something like that.
They did a lot of old strip reprints. Yeah.
There's a big book of that which I've got. Which the entire Sky Masters series, because it was a newspaper strip, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's 3 or 4 trade paperbacks that collect the entire run.
Right.
That I think I have when it first came out.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's fantastic work.
Marv is back. Hello, Marv. Hope you're doing well. FF was 100% Kirby, having fun like Commandy. Yep. Commandy, another crazy property. Yeah. It's so iconic. The #1 cover is just amazingly iconic. You sit there and you talk about comic book covers. Yeah. Even though it was kind of a rip from Planet of the Apes, but it was still just phenomenal.
Well, Kirby produced that. I think it was FF68, was it? Something the way it was like he was obviously watching The Prisoner, wasn't he? When they had them trapped in Latvia, or Latveria, I should say, Doom's domain. It was obviously The Prisoner that he was watching there.
Jerry Genuine says Jerry Ordway should get off of Twitter. A lot of people should get off of Twitter.
Oh yeah.
I'm not on Twitter very much myself because it's just a den of hate, you know. Roz was an inker. How cool was that? Silver Star was the last one, yeah. Yep. He did Turbo Teen too. Well, most of us remember Turbo Teen.
I don't remember Turbo Teen.
It was a Saturday morning cartoon.
Oh, right.
Just look at the printed ads for that cartoon. They're all drawn by Kirby. Yeah. Yep. Hail area blackness. I'm happy to have you here. Very much so. Thanks for joining us. Empyrean Vol, Peter, how you doing, buddy? Good to hear from you. The designs from He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, were based on models of New Gods toys that Kirby designed. He even gave Zodak Metron's chair. Very likely. Speaking of raw barbarianism, here I am. There you go. Morning, gents and Rich. Yeah. Hey, William. Sorry I didn't get to that sooner. Jack didn't do superheroes. He did mythology. That's a good point, Empyrean. He definitely did heroic fiction. So my father had Machine Man. It was my first Kirby experience, my favorite of all time. Yeah. Also a cool property. Machine Man was good. My first Kirby was the Black Hole comic book when I was a kid. He did the designs for that movie and storyboards. Did he?
Yeah.
There's Kirby there in both of those robots. I could see it now that you mention it.
I'll tell you, we should mention Mike Royer for the work he did as well on those from 1973 onwards, probably, on all that stuff. Mike Royer is a fantastic artist. He's did some fantastic work on Kirby.
I thought what was fascinating, if you ever saw the Superpowers miniseries, that was inked by Greg Theakston,
right?
Who I before that,
yes, I have seen it.
I really didn't have a whole lot of appreciation, but it's unique looking. It's very cool, and you could tell he did it with a lot of love. But it's almost a different look for Kirby.
Didn't Greg die a couple of years ago?
Yes, I think he did.
Yeah.
But I've talked to him a couple times at shows because he's from the Detroit area, and I saw him critique somebody's work that brought it up to him and asked him to critique it, and he tore it apart and put it back together again, so precise, like a teacher.
Right.
Whatever. It was a class in sequential art and dynamics, standing there watching him critique this person's artwork.
Right.
It's very interesting stuff.
Sounds
and
brutal.
He did. No, actually, he did it out of love. He did it because the guy was really talented and he wanted him to learn.
Right.
But Greg had Pure Imagination company that he printed a lot of books from, a lot of public domain material. I have a book of his on Loughran that is real fascinating. And if you don't know who Loughran is, you need to find out. So if it wasn't, if Loughran hadn't drawn Captain Marvel Jr., Elvis wouldn't look the way he did. So, it's that simple. Empyrean Vol says there came a time when the gods died. The brave died with the cunning. The noble perished, locked in battle with the evil. It was the last day for them. An ancient era was passing in fiery holocaust. Sounds like something Kirby would write.
It's from New Gods one.
Mike, oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
That's why it sounds like something Kirby would write.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't have those books memorized like that. I admire you.
I remember that. That's on the very first page.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
I've got all that stuff about 4 times over in just about every reprint format that they could kick out, including the really bad newsprint printed ones. But I don't have them memorized like that. Mike Royer was Kirby's best inker. Yeah, that and Mike Thurbeau, I think the person's name is. I always admired their brushwork, and it was such a welcome change from the Crow Quill of Coletta. Even Roy Thomas and Jim Shooter had major works at both companies. Yeah. Yep. And still, Theakston was a good inker for Kirby at the end. Yeah.
I think an underrated inker was John Verpoorten, who died, didn't he? He was only about 37 when he died. He inked John Verpoorten. He inked the Eternals, and he went on to be Marvel's production manager in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
He died in 1937, age 37.
37?
I think he had a massive heart attack, obviously, and he died. Yeah.
That had to have been like 87 or 97, right?
No, 77.
Oh, 77. I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not awake yet.
He was a really good artist. He also inked John Romita on the FF when he took over from Kirby.
Okay.
John Verpoorten. He's really good artist.
Brian K. Morris, Rising Tides. It's good morning, gents. Morning, Brian. Hope you're doing well. Good to see the show back.
Brian.
R.E. Coletta. There weren't many inkers who could keep up with Kirby's productivity.
True.
It's true, but he needed a number of inkers.
Yes.
Instead of just one scratchy one. I did animation layouts on Turbo Teen back in '84 for Ruby Spears.
Brilliant.
Yeah, John. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We need to have you on Sunday Funnies sometime and talk all about your animation career. Maybe pull up some videos.
Yeah.
And just have fun. The Kirby Superpower series is incredible. I had never seen Kirby doing Hawkman or Kirby doing Martian Manhunter before. It's great. I understand that is the only time Kirby drew Batman as well. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Oh, and Kirby Green Arrow. Kirby did Green Arrow for a number of years, right? He did. I seem to remember a Showcase Presents that's got a lot of Kirby Green Arrow in it. Green Arrow and Speedy.
I think looking at it, I don't think Kirby was very good on Spider-Man and Batman. You know, I think that's when he does when he draws Spider-Man, not posters, but when he does a Spider-Man drawing or a Batman drawing, I don't think it's his best stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think he captures it.
Mike Royer did a lot of work for Warren and was a great artist in his own right. Yeah. Also, he really smoothed out Paul Norris on Magnus Robot Fighter when Russ Manning left. I could definitely see that with Royer's inking style. Yeah.
Yeah. Good inker.
And that catches us up on the chat. Hey.
Wow.
There we are.
So Mike, tell us about Cora.
Well, I was just going to say, Glenn, what's next after Jack Kirby?
I'm producing Hatch. I finished a 40-page comic of that. I'm also working on a few things for other people with strips, and I'm doing storyboards for a guy in Nashville, Tennessee, for his music video. And
anybody you can tell us?
No, and
okay.
That's stalled. That's been stalled.
Have they had any previous records out? Is it somebody that we would know? I guess I should ask. I
don't know because I'm not that well up on the
indie country music.
Yeah, so I don't really know. Right. He does gigs and things. Done the odd gig.
Cool.
But and I'm working on some more science fiction novels that I'm going to illustrate and stuff like that.
Not that all of us are up on our country music, mind you, but anyway.
I know Dolly Parton and him with the beard who died. Don't even know his name.
Who? What?
Him with the beard who died. What's he called?
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
But I couldn't name 5 songs.
Sadly, I probably could, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So and Jack Kirby, your book,
the book
and DVD, Jack Kirby: A Personal Journey, Words and Pictures, is available.
Yep. It's on Indiegogo right now, and I'll sign it and all that kind of stuff. And it's 124 pages of photo. There's a piece about the premiere that was held in a local theatre, Q&A afterwards. It's all that, and it's all there. And then there's 40 odd photographs of me with Jack, and I've got the type notes of my meetings, and I even got the handwritten notes. somewhere. It's all there. And then I've also got the artwork of mine that Jack did a critique on when he said, you see what I see. So that'll do for me. And it's it's all there.
How did you get your head out through the door when you left then? When Kirby said that.
That's what he said. I'm only telling you what he said.
Yeah.
And there's my work on his drawing table. That's where he's talking to me there. It's fantastic. Cool. I'm not saying I see what he sees. He said that.
Yep.
And because he was quite good. And I showed him.
Got a couple of experiences like that from other people that it just blows the ego right up.
It just does you right in. That's me with Roz.
Sweet. Yep.
It's all on Indiegogo, people, and with the DVD, 2-hour DVD.
Right there.
I've got to grab my own. It's coming once I got money.
I know. So
now Mike,
check it out.
Yes, please check it out. Yeah. Indiegogo. Now, Mike, Jimmy, how's Cora doing?
We're doing pretty good. I got 10 days left. We're at 46 backers, so we exceeded the backer number for Lava Cora 4. Smashed a couple of stretch goals. I would show the plushie that is in production right now, but it's in my suitcase from a con yesterday. Because I figured that would be easier and I didn't expect to be in a show today. Lava Cora 6 is running halfway, so we're getting there. I'm drawing way too many birds and it's killing my hand, but it's fun.
Sure.
And the book is done. Literally just gonna wait for Indiegogo to pay out, and then we're gonna get them printed, and people should get everything in May at latest. So sweet. It's running smoothly. Like it's a dream come true.
Excellent. And you're growing, which is cool, which is the key. Yep. You just got to keep growing.
No, yesterday I was at a small convention and there was this little lady who came up to me with a guy holding a way too big camera for his face. And she just started interviewing me and writing things down haphazardly. And apparently last night I got into a newspaper, which, that was surprising. And, I woke up and I was like tagged in it and I was like, wait, that's my face. What am I doing there?
Well, your book is widely accessible. I mean, anybody coming in can understand and read it. So it should be out there in front of the masses.
Well, I try to.
As many as many people that can read it. It's accessible to everybody. And if you haven't seen Life on Cora yet, it's about a planet and the different ecologies and creatures that live on it. So it's an alien planet. It's really fascinating stuff.
And it's for all ages, literally for all ages. It's not just a kid's book. But it's free to give to your kids and they will have just as much fun with it as I do. And trust me, when I proofread these stories, I just end up reading it.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to go through these, and half the time I'm like, oh, I drew this. Really?
It's amazing when you look on your work, isn't it? You think, no way,
Sometimes you look at it and you cringe and you go, I'd have done this or I'd have done that or switch that around. And other times you go, who's the genius that wrote this? It's a pretty cool story. And then you go, oh yeah, I wrote it.
Wait,
okay.
I mean, I didn't write it, but
that's cool.
The art on it is just, I rarely cringe anymore. Let's say it like that. Like I'm getting to a point where I'm not comfortable with my art. I can always do better. But
that's a typical artist though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an artist, you're always looking to better your work, your techniques, your everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But we all go through that dark cloud, don't we? Where we think you've spent 2 weeks on it and you lock at it and you think, what? I'm wasting my time,
Oh yeah. I got stuff out there that makes me cringe.
Just pick up a Jack Kirby book and you think, I'm going to forget it. I'll just, I'll just sit and read his, But we have to do it in the end. We always come back to it in the end. That's what we're all about.
Well,
Yeah.
and then that's the thing too. Like, I don't have the time to cringe. I put it down and I move forward because I literally don't have the time to worry about it.
That's also the work of an artist.
Yeah.
Some things you just have to put in the context of the time that you were in and just move it along.
See, I think that you shouldn't throw anything away either, because I did that when I did my book about my dad in D-Day. There was a drawing in there that I did of a soldier firing a brain gun, and I spent 2 days on it. And when I looked at it, I thought, this isn't right. So I just put it. I was really upset about that. So I put it to the side, and then when I pulled it out again a couple of days later, I just threw a load of coloured ink on it, and it's the best illustration in the book now because of the flash of the gun and everything, just with this coloured ink. And so proving the point that, every day is different. You'll have a different look at it, but don't throw it away. Don't destroy it. Don't throw it away. Just put it to the side. And if you don't change your mind, you don't change your mind. But I think you'll find most of the time you can pull it back, and it's not as bad as you think it is most of the time.
That's the thing too. Like a couple of weeks ago, my pen display died, so I can't draw digitally anymore. Like I used to pencil digitally. I just picked up a pencil and I went on just the way I do digitally on paper itself. Like the quality is still the same. Actually, with the size and being able to go one-on-one over the ink is actually helping it. I'm feeling the detail on where to leave it out, where to leave it in a lot more. So I might just continue doing this traditionally completely.
Yeah. Well, you've all heard my comments on that kind of thing, but I just love getting a pencil and drawing on board or paper. I think it's wonderful. I'm not saying people shouldn't use computers if they want to. That's fine, but I won't say never, but I wouldn't get around to doing that anytime soon.
There's tools that digitally are very easy to use. I'm working on a tattoo commission right now, which really needs symmetry. And having a symmetry drawing tool to work on digitally and pencil it like that would have been great. But I'll manage traditionally. Like I'll make it work out.
Yeah, I don't see how it's easier working on a computer, to tell you the truth, other than you can erase more. So discipline goes, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, the thing for me working digitally with pencils is, I can erase more. It saves a little on the paper side, but there are tools within your art program like symmetrical drawing or perspective tools, and making lettering a little easier. With text bubbles that always, flow properly and stuff like that. But it has to fit with what you're actually doing. It has its place. It's not the end all means, just like traditional isn't. It's just a matter of preference and how your abilities grow as you use them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So true.
That thing with perspective, I read a thing, George Perez years ago. He said, you shouldn't spend too much time getting it perfect.
I agree.
And you should get into your mindset, and I think he's dead right. Get into your mindset that if it looks right, it probably is.
Yeah.
Right. But if you got your ruler on it, you're probably going to be out. But if it looks right, if the eye says it's okay, then it's okay. There's only God or the universe does perfect perspective, so you might as well just bend it as much as you can just to make it look right.
For another comic that I used to do, Infinite Guardian, which is all the way on the right there, we discontinued it because the writer decided that a magnum opus doesn't work on $20 a page. Well, I decided that. He just agreed. So in the second chapter, you have a couple of pages with a lot of big perspective and buildings and stuff. And I love cityscapes. I don't make them in Loughran Cora, but I love doing cityscapes. And I'll use the perspective tools, but I put in blocks. This is a building. that's going to be a building. It's just a square right now. It's a cube, and from there I fit in all the little mistakes that you make when a building is made. The wall isn't going to be perfectly straight. There's not going to be all perfectly square buildings on one long street, stuff like that, because you have to break the perspective for it to work.
Yeah. And not all the buildings are the same size, are they?
No.
So it's all that kind of thing.
Never. Yeah.
It's
Brian
interesting to work
and
on.
John, if you want to be part of the conversation, just let me know. I'll send you a link.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Sim, I'm sorry I sent you a link, but I just saw that your message from about an hour ago, and I apologize. So, you should have told me in the chat. You were just in the chat, Sim. So come on in.
Where's
We're
it
on here
gone?
trying to talk Kirby, but you can't talk Kirby without talking art. So
That is
that's the way it
true.
works.
Yeah, I think Kirby's the best thing that he has was his storytelling abilities. Like it's clear to me that he when he was a kid, he used to go and watch these James Cagney films, and he'd watch them 3 times a day, and his mother would drag him out to go home. That's where he learned storytelling, and that's the sequential art thing. And as you two know, that's the biggest part of it, because you can do a story with stick figures.
Yeah.
But if it works, it works.
Matt Fazell does Cynical Man with stick figures. He's a genius at it. Yeah.
Right. So because he knows how to tell a story in art, with art, and so that's the most important thing. And it's like writers need to know the difference between the idea and the plot, don't they? Things like that. These might sound simple to us, but I don't think a lot of people grasp it. I get people saying to me they've got a great idea for a book, and it's 2 sentences. And I said, well, that's the idea. That's the idea. What's the plot?
Yeah.
And they can't work that piece out. And then they can't put themselves in a situation to write 80,000 words that hopefully make some kind of sense, which is writing a book. But comics, as you well know, if the words are the scenery, you don't need to know the guy's called Reed Richards. You need to see what he's doing. That's just the scenery, because if you don't have the art there, it's a book. You've just got words.
Yes.
And I've said before, comics, when you see a Jack Kirby page, it's a silent movie, isn't it? You don't need to know what the guy's called, or you just need to see the sequence of pictures telling you the story. And that's what his best thing was, apart from all the other brilliant stuff he could do, which was design and create and write and do all the other things. That's why he's such a genius, I think. Probably the only genius in comics, I would have thought.
Well, that's something that, starting to study American comics a lot more and as a whole, like that is something that from a Franco-Belgian background in comics, I learned a lot from the last few years, because I am used to literally having a panel going, so then they did this and this off screen, and now we're here. And then you got American comics, and you don't even have to look at the text. You know exactly what's going on, which is a lot more common nowadays, and has been, say, 30, 40 years since we started getting those backlogs over here. But yeah, if you compare the quality of storytelling from those like from the 50s, 60s, 70s, from European comics to American comics, their American comics are way better at storytelling.
Apart from Mobius, maybe, and Hergé.
I mean,
well, there are geniuses, I think, in every country who are able to look at their culture and interpret it like that. And Mobius definitely, Hergé definitely, that are able to give that slant. But you go look at like Karl Barks, just his duck material is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
Gustafsson, who a name I can probably never pronounce correctly, on Mickey Mouse, especially the old classic Mickeys, are just unbelievable. But a lot of that storytelling too comes from these artists having looked at comic strips, and comic strips were such an elevated art form back when they were kids, that they looked at that and marveled at the art. If you haven't gone back and looked at the Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon, or Foster's Prince Valiant, or anything that Kniff did, there's just a beautiful art composition symmetry to it that like you can obviously see Murphy Anderson inks because he loved Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon. There's just no question about it. He sat there and he looked at how Raymond used a brush and decided he was going to learn the same way, because a lot of that, I see a lot of that brushwork in Murphy's work every time I look at it. And I look at it in solid awe, honestly. Just incredible stuff. And a lot of that influence is carried down from when you're a kid. And American comic strips were so big back in the day, in the early 30s and mid 30s, that it's obvious that it carried over into comics. Yeah.
So, go ahead, Mike.
So to point out Empyrean Vol with Tintin, and I agree, there were creators from that time that, Tintin, Asterix, Lucky Luke, these really big names that went all the way, and had a higher sense of storytelling. But for the most part, looking at a lot of creations from that time as well that are less known to Americans, like Suske and Wiske, which is one of my biggest influences. Like, there is a whole different kind of storytelling going on in there, and that's what I'm comparing it to. It's the more obscure to American thing.
What's the name of the artist who drew Asterix?
That was Uderzo.
That's it. Because he, with his artwork on that, he taught me how to draw Roman soldiers.
Yeah.
That fantastic armor that he used to draw, and it's only a cartoon style as well, isn't it? So it's just wonderful.
So, yeah, I've only got a couple of Asterisk books, but I had to go back and look at, like, Lucky Luke. I've got almost the entire run of those books, and Hergé's Tintin I love looking at, because it's been reprinted in so many different formats that it's fascinating to sit there and look at it and to compare the adaptions between the groups.
I think,
I see so much, especially in like Lucky Luke and Asterisk and Tintin. I see a lot of Karl Barks in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Barksian, the same eye for storytelling. Where, to swing the conversation back to our point, Kirby literally created superhero dynamics. I think that you had a lot of these guys back in the golden age that were working and trying to get there. And Kirby at that time really didn't have that respect that he does now. Everybody looked at him as goofy. That's, as a slacky artist. But you see, as time goes on, the odd panel proportions, the dynamics that Kirby started out in Captain America, the leg out of proportion, moving out of the panel, and that kind of thing all ends up creeping into it because it was cool and it was imaginative, and folks picked up on that, whether consciously or subconsciously.
A friend of mine years ago said that, we were talking about Kirby at work, and he said that Kirby had no idea of anatomy and perspective. And I said, You've got to be joking, because that guy must have known that inside out to do what he did, stretching all that stuff. He still needed to make it work.
I always said he was the Picasso of comics.
We're joined now by Sim, the Ink Slayer.
Hello. And
introduce yourself to our audience, will you, Sim?
Yep, my name is Simon Sim Potier. I'm a comic book creator, writer, illustrator. I'm known so far for Blood Hunt, The Wool Dragon, Tales from the Adverse, and I'm launching Tales from the Adverse too at the same time as Zim is launching his campaign tomorrow.
Actually, it's Anthony Figueroa and Marcus that's working on that campaign. The creators behind God's Hand are at the forefront for that, for us. Yes, but we are all behind it. So
And I'm a huge
that's
fan
the
of
Long Shots campaign over on IGG. So that's what we were talking about. Anyway, back to Kirby.
Mhm.
The thing that really got me with Kirby, especially once I started looking at his work back in the 70s and when he returned to Marvel and started working with Captain America and Black Panther, it's basic shapes. And when I grew up, I was given a book by my uncle, which spoiled me for life on how to cartoon using basic shapes. And I'm sitting there looking at it and going, he's moving fast because he's doing a number of pieces a day at this point in order just to feed his family. And you can see circle, circle, square, 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 square for a hand.
Yeah.
You know, that's why everybody complained he had these blocky fingers. Well, yes, he did, because he was using square, 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 bigger square for the palm, circle, 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 circle for the arm.
But did you guys ever see?
And he had the anatomy sitting in his head. Boom, 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 done.
Did you guys ever see like actual like in betweens of animation? That's exactly how it looks. Like it's never fully detailed. It's mainly a shape, but that's what he did with more details, and everything was very powerful and dynamic. Like that's why, like like that's why they said like we're not artists, we're cartoonists. Like they were all saying that. Will Eisner and all of them, they were always saying, "I'm a cartoonist."
Yeah,
storyteller first.
Yes.
Or in his later life, Eisner referred to himself as a sequential artist.
Yep.
So
he wrote that great book.
When I registered my company name, The Artist Sim, and I said I'm gonna just like use Sim, they were asking me, what does it stand for? Like other than my name? Yeah. Sequential Illustration Master.
Oh, there you go.
She looked at me with an old smirk and she goes, fair enough.
No, that's Russ, genius in itself.
Russ, I see you're in the house. I sent you a link. You're welcome to come aboard if you'd like.
Well, yeah, I mean, coming back to the foreshortening and stuff like that, like if you're going to complain that someone doesn't know their anatomy when they're doing stuff like that and it works, then you're not you're not seeing the fact that they have to understand anatomy in order to make it work.
That's exactly, the whole point. Yes. Exactly.
The there point. Is a big gap between being able to make it look good and it just not working because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says Empyrean says, hey, Tintin. Tintin is incredible. Yep. Oh, yes. Floyd Gufferson on Mickey Mouse. Yeah. The Fantagraphics did they still might be doing a reprint of the strip, but to me, Mickey is Mickey with the dot eyes, not the dot or circle inside of or dot inside of a circle eyes, but the pie eye is what I call them, with the piece of pie slice taken out of the large large dot. That's Mickey to me, and I collected all of those. It's just amazing work, you know. And
so is that more like Steamboat Willie, that version?
Yes.
Yeah.
That version of Mickey is Mickey to me.
Right. Yeah.
You know, then Gottfredson's work is just phenomenal on that. And he didn't tell humor as well. He did some humorous stuff with Mickey, but a lot of the comic strip he worked on was high adventure material. Mickey as an aviator, Mickey fighting the Blot, Mickey fighting Pete, peg-legged Pete, that kind of stuff.
Not paste pot Pete, peg-legged Pete.
Not paste pot Pete. No, that was a Kirby creation. So, and you never know how those can come back to haunt you, or come back into comics. Now they just use them as members of the Suicide Squad. So,
yep.
Right.
Polka Dot Man. Who knew?
Simon, where have you gone?
Or look at Starro. It's in the latest Suicide Squad movie. Right. Whoever thought you'd ever see that animated? But it seems to work.
I've not seen a full superhero movie since Watchmen. I don't think Captain America, Winter Soldier. I think I don't watch them. These Avengers things. I don't watch them.
you probably saw the high point at this point.
Right.
You know, there's not you get an occasional flash here or flashes here and there, and not the character, but little flashes of geekdom here and there that pop in. But the Civil War, just classic stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
I
all the
enjoyed
way
the
from
Snyder stuff.
From the beginning fight with Batroc to the end fight with Iron Man, it's just there, you know.
Right.
And you can't. You just sit there and you just marvel at the Russos, and you go, "Yeah, you're going to do an Avengers movie? I'll be there."
Is it Kirby? Is it Kirby though? Because I always think that elevator scene with Cap when he jumps out the elevator, that's pure Kirby. That.
Oh yeah. There's so much of that wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
The opening fight on the boat to me is Captain America all the way.
Hmm.
That's there. I sat there and looked at that, and I said, "You're never going to get better than that. Never. You can do whatever superhero fight you need to do, but you're never going to get better than that." It's just so cool seeing him throw the shield around and then know where it's at and catch it.
Yeah.
You know, just on instinct. That's his classic Captain America right there to me. I'm trying to think that the other, I think, you know, and it doesn't match like when Star Fox and Pip the Troll pop in and at the end of, and sorry if I spoiled that for you, at the end of Eternals. That was kind of a geek moment, but it was like, it doesn't match the Captain America fight, you know?
No, Civil War was one hell of a movie for sure. Like that was a good run.
You get those little peaks. It's really prominent in cinema. You know, A New Hope, Matrix comes out. Civil War for a superhero movie. Okay, everything else is going to be propped up against that. And the big fight scene in Endgame, you're never going to match that. Just don't try. Just don't.
I haven't seen Endgame yet.
Because you're just, well, there's certain parts of Endgame that are cringy, like when all the girls get together and like, we're girls, let's go. It's like, oh, stop. You know, that's
like 20 minutes into the fight, they're like, okay, it's time for us to get involved, girls.
You're in the middle of killing aliens, and all the girls are going to get together and go, girl power. Yeah, that works. You know, that kind of stuff. It's just no. Have the girls go out there and be at equal with the men, absolutely, because some of them women kick ass. But don't have them all get together and go, hey, we're all girls, we're all going to survive now. It's just no. Don't do that.
I haven't seen it. Should I watch it?
No, read a comic.
What? Yeah, read a comic. Comics are better, but I'd put your tongue in your cheek when you do. But I wouldn't watch Infinity War without having Endgame real handy,
right?
In order to be able to watch both. And one of my favorite memories of a best friend of mine who's passed was he was able to see Infinity War. Well, he got to see Endgame too before he passed, but he watched Infinity War and he called me up cussing. You never told me the thing ends in a cliffhanger. Like, you never asked, you know. It's like, okay, sorry about that, but it was a great movie, wasn't it? Yeah, it's a great movie. So.
Yeah,
Shang-Chi is fun. Just don't think about it when you watch it. That's all. Eternals is fun. Just don't compare it to Kirby's material when you watch it. It's not. There's a lot of Kirby name influence. There's an occasional glimpse here and there of Kirby influence in it, but it's not Kirby.
So it's not the Eternals then?
Technically, it's people that call themselves Eternals. There are some Celestials in it. Those look like exactly like Kirby.
Right.
But the Eternals, no. Then the explanation for them is completely off from what Kirby intended, and they've taken that property and molded it and evolved it or done whatever.
Didn't they base it on Neil Gaiman's Eternals?
Yes.
Right.
The story they did.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad movie. It's a lot better movie than what I was expecting. I was expecting a trash fire, and it wasn't. It was a very competent film.
Did they explain why they had Medusa cut her hair off in the Inhumans?
No.
Because I thought that was the point of the character.
That killed the show right there.
Why did she do it? Did she say? Did the character say?
What's mad? Black Bolt's crazy brother.
Maximus
chopped her hair off so she couldn't attack him.
Right.
which was stupid because she had complete control over her hair follicles. She just grow the hair back. That's exactly how that. And anybody who knew the character was sitting there going, "That's the stupidest thing you ever seen in your life," and it shot the entire series.
Oh, wow.
And they did it to save money, so they didn't have to animate her hair, which is again a stupid thing to do. It's like I'd have just looked at him, or I had the character Medusa look at, and Medusa was beautiful. That was the same actress that played Zatanna in Smallville, and only she had taken some acting classes between Smallville and doing Inhumans, and she was a good actress, you know. I'd have just had her look at Maximus and laugh and grow the hair back automatically, and just mop the floor up with him. Done, but then the series would have been over. Instead, they had to have her go around the whole rest of the show bald. So it's like, that's not Medusa. Come on, jeez.
No.
Just because you don't want to animate hair, stop it.
Unfortunately, I think it's important to leave your comic book life at home when you go and see a comic book movie.
Oh yeah, you have to bring that stuff.
It's not, and I'm quite comfortable with that because I'm very shallow, and I like a good film that's rubbish.
It's like that with Man of Steel too. You looked at it and you go, "No, wait," but and then you start thinking about it and you go, "Well, what else are you going to do with the character?"
I really like it.
Okay, that's what you got.
I'm not that. But the comics are the comics. The films are the films. Never the twain shall meet. Although, like the rest of you, like sitting there watching Civil War, that was a geek moment.
Yes,
but that was as much of a geek moment as the first 20 minutes of the original of the first Lord of the Rings film, where a lot of standard viewers would have been bored stiff. But as a young person reading that book and then seeing it visualized in front of you. My mouth was open like, oh my God, that's
those
exactly
are
what I
hobbits
saw.
and they're partying. This is awesome.
Yeah. It's just the way that it looked, everything. It was everything that I'd imagined while reading it. So that's a testament to Tolkien's writing and to Jackson's direction.
It's that little geek boy moments that we all pull out of out of those movies from the books that we've read.
But the best geek moments are in comics. Just read comics. Buy more comics, everyone. That's why we're here. Yeah. Comics.
Yep.
Hours.
But Thor Ragnarok was closer to Kirby than Eternals was.
Yep.
I enjoyed that film.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire environment, all the designs were screaming Kirby. Like
that was intentional
everything.
too. So that was their love letter to Kirby, and though Eternals should have been, but it wasn't. In my opinion.
Is there going to be another Eternals film, or did it end?
If they don't do another Eternals film, they're going to bleed a lot of the characters into the Avengers.
And I'm kind of happy they canceled the Fourth World one, to be quite honest.
The who what?
They were supposed to be doing the Fourth World movies, and it was going to be directed by the Wrinkle in Time girl.
Oh, no. New Gods. They were doing New Gods.
New Gods, yeah.
Yeah, Ava DuVernay. Yeah. Yep.
So what happened to that?
That went into turnaround. Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yep, Tom King was writing it, and DuVernay was going to co-write it and direct it, and it would have been a disaster.
And they realized.
No, they just put it in the turnaround.
All right.
And you don't have to. Have it explained to you why there's a problem with Wrinkle in Time. You just have to sit and watch it, and then you just shake your head, and especially if you know the material. No geek boy moments in A Wrinkle in Time. Put it that way. It was a mess.
So what are you working on there, Russ?
Secret project he can't talk about.
Oh.
No, I can talk about this with Doctor Who. So.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which Whitaker?
Yeah. It's for the magazine, Doctor Who magazine. I'm
cool.
Doing some
good for you.
For them at the moment.
So you're done with that project you couldn't talk about?
No, that's ongoing. That's ongoing, and the first one will be released in March. So
sweet.
It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
I would have to swing the topic back. I would have loved to have seen Jack Kirby's version of like Rogue Trooper or Judge Dredd.
Wow, yeah. Oh, Judge Dredd, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That would have been really interesting to see. And
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
it was a sorely missed opportunity. But I could see him doing Rogue Trooper too.
But I have to admit, though, was it Ivory or I don't remember which one the artist, but they did a Judge Dredd at IDW, and it did have like a very big Kirby influence on the art. I need to check who it was.
It was Mike Mahone, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he does really big boots and
and it wears
courage,
and it screams Kirby when you look at it. It's
If you mix Carlos Esquerra and Kirby, you'd end up with Mike McMahon.
Really? Oh, I'll have to go look for that now.
His stuff was fantastic. And then something that was sort of a bit like Mahone was Kevin O'Neill, but he had sharper lines, much more defined, but it was really angular. And he did some brilliant stuff. I mean, his Nemesis for 2000 AD was fantastic.
Yeah,
I think he did a couple of ABC Warriors as well. He did the first ever spread, I think, for ABC Warriors. Just superb stuff. I remember just looking at it for hours and hours and hours.
Dude, I bought the entire collection, the big omnibus they have, the 4 books.
All right, yeah.
Of what? Of what now?
ABC Warriors.
Oh, okay, yes.
I've got the original Titan prints from the late 80s.
They really need to do archive versions prog by prog of 2000 AD, just so you can see the evolution of those characters.
Yeah.
It'd be good if they, you're right.
Really be cool if they did that.
If they did the whole weekly book, a bit like the old Marvel Essentials, but in the anthology type way that it was produced originally. So you've got like one comic, just stitched them all together.
5 pages at a time. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Was it Ron Smith who worked on Judge Dredd as well, Russ?
Everybody's worked on Ron. Everybody's worked on Dredd.
I haven't.
Some of the.
I've done some pages of Judge Dredd, but it's not used, unpublished.
They had over here Vince Locke and Guy Davis both did Dredd episodes.
I'd love to do a Dredd. I would love to do it.
Yeah.
You need to get a hold of 2000 AD.
No,
they might consider your style to be nostalgic, like they do with Simonson anymore.
I think, I don't think if Simonson can't get any work, I'm definitely not going to get any.
That's a solid travesty right there.
Yeah. Yep. But saying that, I mean, obviously, I'm doing 2000 AD here, so Doctor Who magazine here, so there's space for it. It depends what kind of story.
Suddenly Jodie Whittaker has Judge Dredd's helmet. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be funny. With a little hair underneath.
I don't know how that happened. Click.
No, but so that the style does have that sort of semi-realistic style, I suppose. It's not realistic. It's still cartooning, but that more sort of realism than say I don't know, Kevin O'Neill. I don't know that Kevin O'Neill's style would suit necessarily a modern Doctor Who magazine. There you go.
No, I don't.
Although he is absolutely
it would be
wonderful,
interesting to see. Yeah.
It would be very interesting to see Nemesis turning up in Doctor Who magazine.
Ian Gibson.
So there are places.
Ian Gibson, is he still alive?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I'd love to see his version of Whittaker Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting look.
I think it's a shame they didn't finish Halo Jones, the 3rd book. I think it was.
Amen.
That would have been something.
She's coming back into vogue. They're doing a reprint on her, reprint collection of her work.
It's amazing, isn't it? You hear that thing about Walt Simonson, and I would imagine lots of other artists very similar to him as well would get a similar response or a similar attitude. And yet, look at all the reprints that are going on.
Yeah. Well, no, actually,
did you hear what happened?
Marvel and DC are trying to stifle those reprints as hard as they can in order to push the more modern material.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Did you hear what they did with the John Byrne Fort World omnibus?
No.
They wouldn't commission like John Byrne to do a new cover, so they reuse an old cover, and it just happened that they put a Walt Simonson one. Walt Simonson posted it like, seriously?
Well, because some of them editors honestly can't tell them apart.
No.
Because that's their mental capabilities.
But so much. I mean, I'm not
and their eye for their business. But don't get me started.
I'm not railing on
We're here
all
to
the
talk about
modern.
fun.
I'm not railing on all the modern artists. Not at all. There's lots of great ones out there. But
Yes.
there does appear to be a general sort of feel to the way things are done at the moment.
Yes.
In exactly the same way as there was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I don't kind of get that, because why would you want to be like everybody else?
I know, right?
Wait a minute. There we are. There's the bell. Exactly.
So the way people think about that is like the way, if everything looks the same, then people won't be able to tell it apart, and they will grab everything. Because if one thing works, then other people will get the other thing too.
Speaking of grabbing everything,
like
speaking of grabbing everything, and not necessarily to change the subject, but anybody here in the States or Canada, if they go that far, that has an Ollie's nearby, and you want to pick up any Marvel or DC collection from the last, say, 5 years, check them out. $4.99 a piece.
Really?
Just saying. Those retailers ought to be hot. But, especially if it's Batman right now, because they just did a huge Batman dump at your local Ollie's. $4.99 a piece for New 52 and Rebirth collections.
Bat dump.
I don't think
Right
we have
there.
Ollie here.
Sorry to kill the conversation, but anyway.
I heard it's some kind of dollar store or something.
It is an end run store, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's where it's like an odd lot store. What happens is that when Marvel and DC print overseas, they get a bigger discount on 10,000 than they do 5,000.
Mhm.
So they print 10,000 because you can always use extra books, because there's a lot of these end run stores out there they can sell the leftovers to for pennies, and they've made a huge amount of money just off of selling the 5,000. So they got an extra 5,000 books sitting in a warehouse. They call them up once or twice a year and they go, hey, and that's what they did this time. That Batman movie's coming out here pretty quick. We got a bunch of Batman collections here if you want to come in and buy them for pennies on the dollar. So
they used to pull the old ET game trick, but now they just send it to a dollar store. Okay.
That's how I got to read Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel for like $3 a collection.
Wow.
You don't want to spend hard money on that kind of shit. But anyway, that's just me. Sorry, we're here to talk about fun comics.
Talk about Kirby.
It's the Ms. Marvel stuff. But anyway, if you want to read them, because you have, there's been a couple of critics out there going, well, how do you know they're bad if you're not reading them? I know they're bad. I read them. They're bad. So yeah.
Not everything's for everyone, and if you like those things, then that is all the more power to you.
Well, there's specific genre type books that aren't meant for everyone, and then there's bad quality books that aren't meant for anyone.
Exactly.
And that somebody got paid because they knew somebody up there, not because they had a certain talent level to their ability.
In all fairness, that's been going on for a long time.
And it has, yes.
Forever.
It has. And it's not like a Coletta situation, to swing the conversation back again, as somebody who can deliver within, turn a book around overnight. So he's great to use for a last minute pinch. This stuff is just, some of it's unreadable.
Okay, so there is a wrench in the wheel versus it started at this and at the idea itself, and that's where you get it. Like, you can have a bad inker, whatever, the story is still going to be good. Mm-hmm. You can have a bad writer, and suddenly, it goes wrong everywhere. Story first, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been neglecting the chat again. That's sorry about that.
Well, we had a good discussion.
We're climbing up. Wow, I don't even see where I left off here. only in cartoon style.
Only that was Glenn. You said only a cartoon style. Only.
Yeah.
Only.
Oh. Ragin, thank you so much at Ragin Broadcast Network, putting in the links there. That's all great. Thank you so much. Empyrean Vol says, I think there's a modern sense to the native environment of comics is a sort of movie version. That's why guys like Sadowski and Greg Land rely so heavily on traced photos. Oh, Greg Land. Anyway, never mind. Empyrean Vol says, but the native environment of comics is an illustrated universe.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't match people with unique styles, though. That was part of the fun of the Silver Age and the what they would call the Bronze Age. So you can open a book and you could tell what a Jim Aparo work. Any book that Jim Aparo worked on, any book that John Byrne worked on, any book that George Perez worked on, you could tell. And nowadays, and it's not just because I'm old. Nowadays, you can't tell. Everything's like a house style, and then on top of that, everything's colored in the dullest, darkest tones they could possibly find.
It's like we're regressing.
Very much so. Yeah.
The creators are sort of ignoring the past, aren't they? Instead of building on it, they're just trying to recreate something new, and they can't do it. And that's clear.
Well,
to me, it's very
definitely
clear.
something for the Zimcast. I think there's a large deconstruction going on.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty, and it's intentional.
I
think there are people up there in the companies now that are looking to do more to tear down than to build up an audience.
I think that's without bringing the conversation that far down. I think that's what the world is doing. Never mind comics.
Yeah, it's culture. But here's something to put a smile on everyone's face.
Oh, look at that!
Let me throw that up here. Yes,
nice.
There we go.
All of you rich people affording these artist editions make me jealous.
Look at that.
I don't have any of those.
Is that old John Buscemi, Russ?
Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that.
Wow.
That's some of the best. That's some of the best stuff that IDW has ever done. Is those reproduction artist volume. That and their strip reprints have just been phenomenal.
Yeah, and they do those artisan ones that are just like magazine size.
Yeah.
So they're not as expensive as these things.
How much did that cost you, Ross?
Right, I actually got it for 80 quid.
Wow.
At I can't remember where it was. Reader or something like that. My wife originally tried to get it for me for Christmas or for my birthday.
Does that break down to about $112?
Yeah, it was 120 quid, and I got it for 80. So, I think that's a bargain. So,
yes, it is.
Fantastic.
The Peacemaker show is pretty fun.
It
has not only Peacemaker but Judo Master. Well, it's got somebody calling himself Judo Master dressed in a reptile outfit. It looks like making that. But it would have been cool to see the original. But that would probably have been offensive to the Japanese. To have seen him running around in the actual Charlton costume. Me think Gunn is a secret Charlton fan. Yeah, he is. Also, Vigilante, teal stripe version. Very funny in this. Yeah. No better treatment of Aquaman in that show. Anyway, if you ever get to see the pilot, it's hilarious. He's walking out of the hospital room and the janitor is there and he talks boastfully about Aquaman, and Peacemaker looks at him and has this standoffish look on his face. And he goes, he fucks fish, you know. Anyway, vagina power, Raging 2. Yes. Okay, back to what we're talking. LMAO didn't see, and then that joke actually pays off in the last episode of the season, which is just in an amazing way. It's incredible.
Oh boy!
Because can I spoil it for you if you haven't watched Peacemaker? This will probably make you go watch it more. But at the end of it, they've solved that. They've stopped the big bad, and they're walking away triumphantly. Of course, they're covered in whatever guts are, they're battle scarred and all this. And the Justice League shows up, and they go, "Fucking about time you guys showed up." And then Flash and Aquaman are there. Everybody else is in kind of silhouette because they didn't want to pay people, But Momoa and the guy who's playing the movie Flash is there, and the movie Flash guy makes a reference to Aquaman that goes back to the first episode. And Aquaman goes, I don't fuck fish. Anyway.
That's obviously a homage to Vince Coletta putting people in silhouette.
Yeah, it could be. But the whole, you really have to put it's literally tongue in cheek, the whole series. But again, you got a guy running around in a Charlton accurate Peacemaker outfit. How are you going to take that seriously with that silver helmet? How do you take that serious? You don't. You just stop. You go out and you find a comedic actor. And that John Cena was a big time wrestler. And he carries it off surprisingly, amazingly well as trying to play the big hero character in the most ridiculous outfit possible. Plus, he's got a mascot that's an eagle named Eagly that obeys his every command, and that they have kind of a Falcon Red Wing sixth sense about each other.
What channel is this on? Is this on the
HBO
CW?
Max? HBO Max.
Oh, HBO Max.
I'd like to see some of the outtakes.
It's right
Yeah,
out.
it's
Right
connected
off of
to the
second Suicide
Snyderverse,
movie. Yeah. It's right off of the second Suicide Squad movie. And
Ah.
the opening for all of the episodes is amazing because they all come out in costume and they do a dance number.
No.
Yes.
Oh, God.
That
And
sounds brilliant.
It's a ridiculously choreographed dance number that you would have to see to believe. It's an amazing show.
God.
But it's definitely a show that you don't want to watch if you have a deep love for Peacemaker or Judo Master. Because it takes, or Vigilante, is for the old black costume Vigilante. That what was that? Wolfman and
Yeah, the black and purple one.
the what?
Black and purple one.
Yeah,
The
the
old
black,
classic one.
black and blue, black, purple, white, and blue. Because they just take them on the most ridiculous curve you could ever imagine. And they do it with a lot of skill and humor. It's really an interesting show, to say the least. And there's some really good superhero fights in that too. So, doing some fun stuff. You just have to go out there and find it. Empyrean says, I didn't see Eternals, but I read the wiki and I was happy to see Dane Whitman, aka Black Knight, is the male lead, even though he isn't yet Black Knight. Yeah, I would like to see that story in movie form. Yeah, it's coming. They're heading in that direction. The second Spider-Man movie where he's in London, they have the Black Knight armor in the background in the museum.
Mm.
And then he finds, they make a couple of references in Eternals to the Ebony Blade. And then there's an end scene in Eternals where Dane Whitman is contemplating the blade. It's still running in the family. It was in a case and he opens it up, and then there's a mysterious voice behind him that's actually the guy who's playing Blade, asking him if he really wanted to pick up that sword because it's cursed. Anyway, Blade is the voice at the end of Eternals. Blade gives Dane Whitman the sword. Yeah, I didn't know that he had given him the sword, but that's not. It was just a case sitting on a table. Tell him, Randy, her hair is sentient. Yeah, her hair would defended itself without her telling it. Yeah. Oh, okay.
My hair ran away.
Yeah, mine too. Lord of the Rings had my jaw on the floor in awe. Did you hear that, Glenn? Awe.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, or what?
Oh,
Sorry.
the
new God movies were being done by bad people with bad intentions. Glad that one was canceled too. I knew I was praying it would go into turnaround, and when it did, I did a little happy Snoopy dance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jack Kirby by Rogue Trooper would star the cigar robot. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen him do if even just a little 5-pager of that or Dread. That would have been fascinating to see. Wait, that would be 2000 AD with the cigar robot. Yeah. Daphne says everything's the same because these companies are making product, not art. Yeah. And if you're just making product, you just need every hamburger to taste the same. Yeah.
Hamburgers.
That's very true. Ollie's is the last stop before being pulped. I got several volumes of JSA there. Yeah, me too. But they just got an incredibly large Batman graphic novel shipment in, and all of the covers to me look almost the same.
Batman's big at the moment because of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie's Locations has a link there in the chat, so go check them out. Because there were times when they got their first graphic novel dump, I walked out with a box full of them, and at the time I was doing shows, so I went through and found and they had all of the cool stuff was in that first shipment because they emptied their big warehouse. DC did. Of all their stuff. Apparently they didn't want to pay for that warehouse anymore. So an entire warehouse fine. So I got to buy multiple copies of like the Captain Carrot Showcase Presents, the Shazam Showcase Presents. I gave them away as door prizes at the conventions I was doing. It's like, here's some great stuff to read. You just promise me you're going to read it. And here's this huge book of this rabbit superhero. This whole team of funny animal superheroes. People loved it. Kids loved it. They'd never heard of the character before. And now they go back to the local comic shop and they see this big, bulky, awful looking rabbit type character out of Tim Burton Nightmare running around in DC. That's Captain Carrot now? Oh, screw that. Yeah. And that Scott Shaw material had a lot of charm to it.
I saw a story going about that DC got kicked out of their office in Burbank.
Yeah, but that was the Warner offices, and Warner had sold the DC publishing rights to the Discovery Channel and the Discovery Corporation. So they technically weren't supposed to be there anymore now anyway.
All it is just a way of doing business. Things have changed. I can't see it, personally, I don't see it as being a major deal. It's just the way things are now. I mean, you don't have a bullpen anymore. You don't, it's been going that way for a long time. All the work that I do is all remote.
Well, like Daphne said, they're just interested in getting COG work from people. And when it comes in, they don't have to worry about whether it meets continuity or if somebody up there at the offices thinks the Superman faces don't look right and have to be redrawn. No, they just print the stuff.
All I'm saying is that even if you are interested in that, I mean, I work with editors and writers and what have you, and it's all remote. And they care about what we put together. So, I don't see it as being a big deal. I think some people have made a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And it's just business. So
any comic news gets over exaggerated. That's just the way it is, because a lot of these sites are desperately out there looking for anything that they can, especially if it's remotely muddy. Oh, guess what? DC was evicted.
Yeah, it's all just there's so much
got
drama.
Kicked out of two stories and kicked down to a couple of tables in somebody's backyard. Yeah, terrible. Everybody does Zoom calls and podcasts.
Yeah,
they have a meeting. They just get a group together like this. Who cares where they live at or if they're wearing pants? They don't care. They just have work to get done, and
news at 11.
News at 11. Yep. And we are way over time already. We've let this conversation drag us way past the 2-hour mark. And here I was, the last time I looked at the clock, we still had a half an hour to fill. That's why I sent Sim and Russ a link. But Russ, tell us where they can find you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You can find me at russleach.com. That's it. You can find out about everything there, or you can go to onlydeathcansavus.com and you can find out there. I've got a YouTube channel, got all the usual social medias, and you can come find me and we'll talk about comics.
And Russ doesn't want to tell you, but starting Monday, there's going to be the Long Shots campaign spring up on Indiegogo, and you can get the first third of the first Only Death Can Save Us story for like next to nothing.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really nicely printed. It's bright. It's beautiful.
Isn't that a pretty book?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really pleased with it when I saw it, because there's on my own campaign for book 2, which will be closing down soon. That I've given away a few of those signed, and people, they're really nice. They're really
holding these books literally makes me cry because of what should have happened. Literally.
We move on.
We move on. That's the Long Shots campaign starting on Indiegogo tomorrow.
The show must go on.
They say it's 7 creators, 9 titles, but it's actually more than 7 creators because there's an anthology book in there so it's more like 15 creators, 9 titles, great books that you can get literally on the cheap, almost as if you went to Ollie's. And picked them up yourself. So Sim, tell people how they can find you.
You can find me on any social media under Simon Sympathy or Inkslayer. And you can find the InkSlayerEntertainment.com, our web store. And on Monday, I'm launching Tales from the Adverse 2. And that's going to be going live at the same time as you guys.
Sweet.
Cool. Sweet. Mike, Jimmy, tell people how they can find you.
You can find Loughran Quarter 5 Tiny Travels right now on Indiegogo, where we have awesome variant covers, plushies, and a whole lot more. You can find me on Twitter at @and_ents, or of course on Facebook as Various Ents or Mike Jimmy Losha the Brown, but I don't blame you for not remembering that.
Can't even say it, never mind remember it.
Exactly. So don't worry about it. Pretty much find me on Twitter. I'm almost always active there, and yeah, Facebook as well as Various Ents. So yeah, come hang out and hit me up. Always want to talk comics, so stay awesome.
Cool. Glenn, tell folks how they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, and you can also find a lot of my work on Amazon. And currently on Indiegogo, you can purchase this, of which is my DVD and my book about my visits to Kirby's house. And Mr. Leach below us was the first person to back it, so thank you for that. He gets a special gift. But yeah, just basically on Amazon, you can get all my books and magazines on there, and you can reach me on Facebook and Indiegogo currently.
That'll be your signature and a nice kiss mark on the inside cover.
If that's what you want, that's what you can have.
Put plenty of lipstick on, Glenn.
I only do that on Thursdays.
And folks, I want to thank you so much for listening to another episode of Sunday Funnies. We haven't dropped any viewership since we ran over, which is incredible, and I deeply appreciate you all. I do. We're going to be back here every Sunday at 9 a.m., and we appreciate you getting up early or stopping your afternoon or evening in order to watch us. We are available on the Ragin, Ragin 2 YouTube channel, where we are archived, and soon there will be a set of classic Sunday Funnies available over there as well for you to enjoy for your listening pleasure. And we're going to keep this going because we can't stop talking about the fun side of funny books. Mm-hmm. And it's just something that has to be done. And again, we appreciate you listening. I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find me. Let me think. You can find me
say
on
one thing?
Yeah.
Great to have you back.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. But I appreciate it. I do. There's the Zimcast on Wednesday where we can really bitch and moan about comics over there. And if you want to contact me for the Zimcast, it's the Zimcast, Zim with 2 M's, the Zimcast, all one word, @gmail.com. I want to answer your questions. I want to help you out as much as we possibly can. And I want your ideas for topics for the show, because I originally started the show to talk about news and pop media. And there's so, like I said earlier, there's so little real comic news out there that's worth reporting. All of it, I would say 80% of it is all happening in the independent comic market, because we're all out here doing our own stuff and being interesting and trying to attract readers, when all of the other ones up there in what they would consider to be mainstream, and really not mainstream, but what they would label the mainstream, are just out there to try to chase people away. So watch the Zimcast. That's again available at Ragin 2 YouTube channel, and a lot of the Facebook pages that Sunday Funnies is available on. Deeply appreciate everybody watching. If you want to read any of my work right now, the Long Shots campaign does start up on Indiegogo on Monday. I have a Hero Bot Zero book there, plus a Revolt anthology book that's part of the 9. And also I have a book on Amazon I don't talk about very often, under War of the Worlds Infestation, that I wrote quite a while ago. I'm very happy with the way that book came out. It's done by the great German artist Horace. And if you go over there and want to take a look at that book, it's definitely worth your time, and it's still a good read in my opinion. And I have I'm my worst critic when it comes to this kind of stuff. So you can find me over there. Pretty soon, I'm going to be crowdfunding a book about my COVID experience and my the adventures that I had while I literally traveled the country without even leaving Flint, but did it in my head.
That's what Doctor Strange does, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I did a lot of astral projection, I'll tell you that. I'm still trying to figure a few things out. You mean I didn't win that Survivor contest? There's not $250,000. I had my wife. I asked my wife to check the bank account because I was sure my prize money was hitting the bank by then. By the time I woke up, and anyway, it's a long story that you'll be able to read in my book. And as soon as I was able to draw, I grabbed a pencil and a piece of paper and started drawing cartoons, trying to do happy cartoons. And pretty soon I was drawing pictures of me going through this experience. And then it's obvious it needed to be a book. So that's what it is. So that and my crazy travels in my drug-induced haze and all of the wonderful things that I can tell people now about having to go through this experience. It's definitely not one I would ever want to relive. So
that's for sure.
Other than that, we will see you at Zimcast on Wednesday. That's Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. We'll be back here again on Sunday for more Sunday Funnies at 9 a.m. And I also co-host, though I don't really say much during the podcast, for Dispatches from Out of the Box on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. as well. And I am there with C. Michael Lanning and Stone Abdullah as we cover a lot of the creative aspects and the outside of the box aspects, of this comics industry. So we're going to go out with the new opening, not the one I played coming in, and our regular opening, and we wish you all the best. We'll see everybody soon. Anything else to add?
Nope. See you next week, hopefully.
As we like to say, try to leave this industry in better shape than when you found it, what you found it in.
By independent comics.
By what? Independent comics, especially ours? Yeah. Yep. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
See ya. See ya, everybody.
Later.
I'm not wearing any pants. Film at 11.